Hi, this is Samit. Welcome to Talksonground. Today we are discussing a very interesting and important issue. It's about the Indo-US relationship. What do you think? Are India and America friends? Are they enemies? Are they partners? Strategic partners? Frenemies? What? And I think in the last 18 months, there is a lot of confusion. And now some questions have to be raised. Are India and US really strategic partners, or we really working at cross purposes? To discuss this issue, I think it's best if we go back to January 2024. In January 2024, there was this Hindenburg report. You must have heard of it, and for the ones who don't know what it was really a research report by one very shady, or let's say lesser known research firm, which came out with a damning report on the Adani Group. Now, for the ones who don't know about this, Adani Group is a extremely important, very large industrial corporate in India, which runs a lot of infrastructure around the country and around the world. They run airports, they have acquired stake in many ports, they're building ports, they're maintaining ports, and for the trade, international trade, it's a very important thing to have ports. And this report, I think on January 24th, 2023, caused a downfall in the shares of Adani by about 60-70%. However, by the end of 2023, Adani had recovered most of their losses. However, this was, in my opinion, the start of a very tumultuous phase in the Indo-US relationship. Of course, many can argue that the moment Russia attacked Ukraine in February 2022, the relationship started going downhill because the Indians did not condemn or side with the American view as the Americans wanted. However, it begs the question that whether the relationship was so shallow and so rickety and so fragile that one issue has shaken the very foundations of the issue of the relationship. So once this Hindenburg happened, a very interesting development took place, and that development was that Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, then and now, he was invited to the White House on a, or rather the US, on a state visit. He was feted, he was given an opportunity to speak in the Congress. A lot of deals were signed, including a aircraft engine deal, and a lot of good stuff and a lot of good press happened. However, within 2 months, or perhaps in few weeks down the line, just after the G20 summit in India, the whole so-called Pannun issue came to light. Now, the reason I'm doing the video today is because I read something online about this issue, and I think it's something very important to share with you. Before we get there, let me go deeper into what happened in, I think, around September, October last year, which is 9 months after that Hindenburg issue. Now, in September, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he made some allegations about India assassinating somebody in Canadian soil. And in October, November, or I think more towards December, US also started saying that there was a plot against Pannun, who's a so-called Khalistani leader, and he's a US citizen, and therefore India has crossed the line, and things are going to go very bad. Now, it's very interesting and intriguing that the US establishment has taken this view, because what I read in the interview today by one Nikhil Gupta is going to question a lot of the American strategy, and it's very disturbing to read that interview. Before we get there, I think there's a very deep-seated reason why the US is now putting a lot of pressure on India. And since September, October last year, and even before that, of course, as I described, there's been a lot of problems in the Indo-US relationship. Now the whole talk about Indo-Pacific partnership, the Quad, uh, all the other trade-related agreements, all of these things have taken a backseat. What do you hear about in the Indian media or the American media about each other is really about whether Bangladesh, whether the regime change in Bangladesh was done by America or whether America had a role in it or not. And now the Western media is talking really about India panicking and going too far in supporting Hasina government, who they think was a dictator or had such a certain authoritarian uh, behavior or behavioral characteristics. Now the question is that why is the Indian and US relationship hinging on these external issues? Even if we take the Pannu issue, anyone in India who need not be educated, need not know enough about politics, domestic politics, or geopolitics, will know what the Khalistan issue is. And anyone who knows the Khalistan issue will also know that this gentleman who the US is supporting and protecting and propagating, it seems, is a really nefarious character. And therefore, to hinge the whole relationship on this person seems like more of an excuse rather than a real issue. So it's like you're looking for something to get upset with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you find something and you walk out. So it's that kind of a situation because uh, this issue has taken uh, longer than anyone expected to kind of get off the reportage. There is no real closure to the issue. And what Nikhil Gupta said today was very disturbing. Now, Nikhil Gupta is one person who the Americans claim was part of the assassination attempt on Pannu, and he was the guy who was introduced uh, or who tried to recruit a killer or an assassin, and that person turned out to be an American agent or whatever. And the poor fellow was arrested in Prague or Czech Republic, and he's been incarcerated for the last 18 months or so. And a couple of months back, he was sent to the US, and he claims that he's been put up in a very, very dangerous and a very unsafe kind of prison. We've all seen the kind of dangers prisons have, especially in the US, with all kinds of stabbings going on, all kind of gangs and drugs and all of these things happening. I'm sure it happens in every country, but for sure it happens in the US. And for the US to put up this gentleman who's pivotal to the relationship in a very unsafe jail is a signal. And the other disturbing aspect that Nikhil Gupta talks about in this article is that he has not been accorded much help from the Indian side. So there's a question on the Modi government also, that why are they not providing all the legal help, all the consular help that Nikhil Gupta deserves, because he might be just one individual, but the fact is that the whole relationship is now hinging on what happens in his trial, which is supposed to start in 2 or 3 months down the line. So this is a very interesting and intriguing pivot into the relationship right now, because in my opinion, if supposing the Democrats win the White House again, and Kamala Harris comes to power in 2025 January, the policies that are there today will continue. And if Trump was to come in, which for which the chances I see are very negligible, I think what will happen is that there might be a certain amount of continuity in the foreign policy, but there could be some changes, especially in the trade, and maybe the China posture could change. But I don't know whether there will be a change in the posture with respect to this case, because if anything, Trump would be more nationalistic. Will have to, uphold patriotic values and so on. So I'm really concerned about the Indo-US relationship right now, and there are many strands to this. There have been statements by Eric Garcetti that are really troubling, and there have been a lot of flare-ups. There have been a lot of visits, but none of these things are really adding up to any single strand or single story. But on the other hand, there is a lot of good going on in the defense sector. A lot of visits. In fact, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is going to visit the US from August 23rd. He is going to meet a lot of industry professionals. Now, I also want to take up another case. Now, this should tell you where I am coming from. So, Nikhil Gupta is one case, Hindenburg is the second case, and the third case is this the Tejas jet. So, there was a deal signed between India and the US in May last year, which is May 2023, wherein the GE company was supposed to supply Tejas or the HAL, which is manufacturing the aircraft, with the engines that this aircraft runs on. And to my understanding, this was a 99 engine deal or whatever. And the first engine was supposed to be delivered almost like a year back or 8 months back, and nothing has happened. There's been no delivery. And the Tejas Mk1A, which is the upgraded version of Mk1, which is the first version, has been delayed for the last few months because the engine's not there. And that's a very troubling scenario, because on the one hand, the US sees India as a pivot against China, or something that can stop China in its march towards global dominance right there in his backyard in Asia, wherein instead of supporting India's defense industry, they're trying to put a speed breaker because they would rather have India purchase their own jets. I'm sure that Americans have much more sophisticated aircrafts than a Tejas 1 Mark 1A, or even 2 if it comes into production in the next few years. Now, you're sitting with F-35s and F-16s and so on, but you don't want India to even have a fourth generation aircraft because you're not going to give the engine. So, as an Indian observer, as an Indian analyst, I'm really concerned. Tomorrow if a war breaks out between India and China, India cannot rely on US, because all that we've seen in the last 18 months is a lot of push and lot of hard tactics by the Americans. And if this is what they're doing in peacetime, they could do much worse in wartime. And that is why there's a push for indigenization in India, which is also upsetting the US. So now this is it's a catch 22. So India doesn't trust the US, and the Americans want India to purchase more from the US, but India will purchase when the US behaves better and allows India to have strategic space. On the other hand, the Americans want to reduce the space and kind of push India into a corner where India does whatever the US tells them to. So this is a very difficult problem to solve, because right now America is not really under direct attack. And if anything, India is sitting in a position where it can be under an attack. The more likely scenario is that India is attacked by Pakistan or China or both, or even somebody else, while the chances of a direct attack on American soil or even some base is much lesser. So in this scenario, obviously the Americans are leveraging whatever they can offer technologically or in terms of the geopolitical moves they're making to extract something from India. Now that something, in my opinion, is to push back against this Atmanirbharta or indigenization drive that PM Modi launched. But that was launched, by the way, in 2020 April or August timeframe. I could be wrong here and there in terms of the month. So that's been 4 years. And you can see that the trajectory of the Indo-US relationship has been slowing down. In fact, you can go back to 2019 or August when India revoked the Article 370, and you can say that was the time when India kind of, or the US started backpedaling on the relationship, in terms of, they started reconsidering whether India is that partner that they can really rely on, because India needs a lot of strategic space. So one can understand where the Americans are coming from. Uh, But the concerns that the Americans have should be something that can be resolved on a negotiating table. So what I don't understand is that why for 18 months this would not be resolved. And I have not even touched upon the electoral interference that happened in India during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. So if you add all of that, one would have to bracket the Americans more as a adversary or a power that is really not wishing well for India, rather than as a power that is really supportive of India. So I would like to know what you think. In my opinion, as I said, the Indian Indo-US relationship is in a very bad place right now, and I do not see any change because the reasons are purely strategic, and neither of the countries are in a position to change that strategy. So I don't know what has to happen to flip this trajectory of relationship. I would like to know what do you think, and what are your views? Am I making too much of the issues I've raised? I've raised three issues: the Hindenburg, the Nikhil Gupta, which is the Pannun issue, and finally this Bangladesh issue. The third one was the jet engine issue. So these three issues, when you put them together, one is your finance and economy, the other is your cross-border upholding of laws, which is what the Indo-Pac or Quad is about. And the third really goes into the defense partnership, whether you're able to share technology. When all of these three things are not working, or if the Americans are working at cross purposes, how the hell are we going to have a partnership? So I really think Indo-US relations are really at the bottom right now, and hope things go better from here. I'd like to know what you think and what is your assessment, and do you think I've missed out any of other issues that could be related, and what do you think about it? And if you like the video, please press the like button. If you like to subscribe and listen to more such videos, please subscribe, and you can share it with your friends. And it was a pleasure relating this to you. Thank you very much. Good night.